I didn't wait for the elevator. I took the stairs 3 at a time, my 64-year-old knees screaming in protest. 4th floor, ICU. The words kept echoing in my head from the phone call 20 minutes ago. Your daughter. Accident? Critical condition? The ICU doors swung open, and I saw nurses rushing, machines beeping, and there she was. My Sarah. My little girl. Tubes everywhere. Face swollen beyond recognition. A ventilator breathing for her. I grabbed the nearest nurse. Where's her husband? Where's Marcus? The nurse looked at me with confusion. Sir, are you family? I'm her father, Richard Caldwell. Where's her husband? She checked her clipboard. Mr. Harrison signed the admission forms 3 hours ago and left. He said he had an important meeting he couldn't miss. An important meeting? My daughter was lying in a hospital bed, fighting for her life, after a head-on collision with a drunk driver, and Marcus had an important meeting. I called his phone. Voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. I called 17 more times over the next 2 hours. Every single call went to voicemail. Sarah's doctor, a woman named Dr. Patel, pulled me aside around midnight. Mr. Caldwell, your daughter has severe internal bleeding. We've stopped it for now, but she also has a traumatic brain injury. The next 48 hours are critical. She needs surgery in the morning to relieve the pressure on her brain. What are her chances? Dr. Patel hesitated. That hesitation told me everything. We're doing everything we can. I sat by Sarah's bed all night. I held her hand. I talked to her even though she couldn't hear me. I told her about the day she was born, how her mother cried happy tears, how I promised both of them I would always protect her, her mother. My Elizabeth, gone 3 years now from cancer. She left Sarah everything, the house in Lincoln Park, the investment accounts, nearly $2 million in total. Sarah was an only child, and Elizabeth wanted to make sure she was always taken care of. At 6 a.m., I tried Marcus again. This time, someone answered, but it wasn't Marcus. It was a woman's voice, sleepy, annoyed. Who the hell is calling this early? I heard shuffling in the background. Marcus's voice muffled. Who is it, babe? Babe, the woman said. Some guy keeps calling. More shuffling. Then Marcus's voice, suddenly alert. Hello? Who is this? It's Richard. Your wife's father. Your wife who is currently in the ICU at Northwestern Memorial. Your wife who might not survive the night. Your wife whose hand I've been holding for the past 7 hours while you were apparently busy with someone named Babe. Silence. Then, Richard, I can explain. No, you can't. Get to this hospital. Now. I hung up. He showed up 2 hours later, freshly showered, wearing a new shirt. I could smell the cologne from 10 feet away. He walked into the ICU like he was arriving at a business brunch, not visiting his critically injured wife. How is she? He asked, not even looking at Sarah, looking at his phone. I wanted to break his jaw. I wanted to grab him by his pressed collar and throw him through the window. But I didn't. I'm a retired attorney. I spent 40 years in corporate litigation. I learned long ago that the most devastating revenge is served cold, calculated, and completely legal. She's in surgery, I said. Has been for 3 hours. Oh. He sat down, checked his phone again. That's tough. That's tough. I watched him scroll through his messages while my daughter's brain was being operated on. I watched him smile at something on his screen. I watched him type a response with both thumbs, completely absorbed. Marcus. Who was the woman who answered your phone? He didn't look up. Just a colleague. We had an early meeting. At 6 a.m.? On a Sunday? It's a demanding industry. What industry requires Sunday meetings at 6 a.m. at a colleague's apartment? Now he looked up. Richard, I don't appreciate the interrogation. I'm here, aren't I? I'm supporting my wife. You're sitting in a chair scrolling through your phone. What do you want me to do? Stand over her bed and cry? That won't help her. I realized something in that moment. I had never liked Marcus Harrison. From the day Sarah brought him home 4 years ago, something felt wrong. He was too polished, too charming. His smile never quite reached his eyes. But Sarah loved him, and after Elizabeth died, I didn't want to push my daughter away by criticizing her choices. Now I understood. My instincts had been right all along. The surgery took 9 hours. Dr. Patel came out looking exhausted but cautiously optimistic. We've relieved the pressure. She's stable for now. But she's in a medically induced coma. We'll keep her under for at least a week to let her brain heal. Will she wake up? I asked. We hope so, but I have to be honest with you, Mr. Caldwell. Even if she does, there may be significant cognitive effects. Memory loss, personality changes, motor function impairment. We won't know the full extent until she wakes up. Marcus left after an hour. Said he needed to handle some things at work. Said he would be back tomorrow. He didn't come back the next day. Or the day after that. On the third day, I hired a private investigator. His name was Frank DiMaggio, a retired Chicago PD detective I had worked with on several cases during my career. I told him I needed everything on Marcus Harrison. Every secret, every lie, every skeleton in every closet. Frank called me back in 48 hours. Richard, you're going to want to sit down for this. I sat in the hospital cafeteria, phone pressed to my ear, as Frank destroyed every illusion I had about my son-in-law. Marcus Harrison had been having an affair for 2 years. Her name was Vanessa Cole, 28 years old, a marketing coordinator at Marcus's firm. They had an apartment together downtown, a separate life, vacations, joint credit cards. But that wasn't the worst part. Richard, I pulled his financial records. He's been systematically draining Sarah's accounts, the inheritance from her mother. He's transferred over $800,000 into offshore accounts over the past 18 months. Small amounts at first, then larger. He forged her signature on several documents. He added himself to her accounts without her knowledge. I couldn't breathe. There's more. I talked to some of his former colleagues. Word is, he was planning to divorce Sarah within the year. He wanted to take everything and disappear with his girlfriend. The only reason he hasn't done it yet is because he's waiting for the final transfer to clear. Another $500,000. It's scheduled for next month. My daughter, my Elizabeth's daughter, married to a thief, a con man, a predator who had been slowly devouring her while she slept beside him every night. One more thing, Frank said. The night of Sarah's accident. I pulled the cell tower records. Marcus's phone was at Vanessa's apartment from 5 p.m. onward. He never went to the restaurant where he told Sarah he would meet her. She was driving alone because he stood her up. If he had been in the car with her like he was supposed to be, maybe she wouldn't have been on that road at that exact moment. Maybe she would have left later, or earlier, or taken a different route. I understood what Frank was saying. Marcus didn't cause the accident. The drunk driver did. But Marcus was supposed to be with her. He was supposed to protect her. Instead, he was in bed with his mistress, while my daughter's car was crushed against a median barrier. I thanked Frank. I hung up. I sat in that cafeteria for a long time. Then I started making calls. I spent 40 years as a corporate litigator. I know how the system works. I know the pressure points. I know how to apply leverage so precisely that a man doesn't even realize he's bleeding until he looks down and sees his life pooling on the floor. My first call was to Gerald Morrison, my former partner at Caldwell Morrison, the firm I founded 30 years ago. I may be retired, but I still own 40% of the equity. Gerald, I need the forensic accounting team. Full audit. A man named Marcus Harrison has been embezzling from my daughter. I want every transaction traced, every forged signature documented, every crime cataloged. Consider it done. My second call was to Patricia Huang, the best family law attorney in Chicago. She represented 3 of the top 10 wealthiest divorces in the state last year. She has never lost a case. Patricia, my daughter is in a coma. Her husband has been stealing from her and cheating on her. I want him to walk away from this marriage with nothing, less than nothing. I want him destroyed. When can we meet? My third call was to Detective Mike Reardon, an old friend in the financial crimes unit. Mike, I'm going to send you a file. Forgery, wire fraud, possibly embezzlement. It's personal, but it's also criminal. Can you take a look? For you, Richard? I'll put my best people on it. My fourth call was to Vanessa Cole's employer. Good afternoon. I'm calling about one of your employees. I believe there may be some ethical concerns regarding her use of company resources for personal relationships with married clients. I thought you should know before it becomes a legal matter. The dominoes were set. Now I just had to watch them fall. 2 weeks later, Sarah opened her eyes. She couldn't speak at first. The ventilator was still in. But she recognized me. She squeezed my hand. Tears rolled down her cheeks, and I knew my daughter was still in there. Over the next few days, she improved rapidly. The doctors were amazed. They called it remarkable. They called it a miracle. I called it Sarah. She had always been a fighter. On the 3rd day after she woke up, Marcus finally returned to the hospital. He had been absent for nearly 2 weeks. He walked in with flowers. Expensive flowers. The kind you buy when you feel guilty. Sarah looked at him. Something in her eyes had changed. Maybe it was the brain injury. Maybe it was the clarity that comes from almost dying. Maybe she had always known, somewhere deep inside, and the accident had simply knocked loose the denial. "Where were you?" she whispered. Her voice was hoarse from the ventilator. "What do you mean?" "I've been working. I came as often as I could. You came once, the day after the accident. My father has been here every single day." "Sarah, come on. You know how demanding my job is. I was worried sick. But I had responsibilities." "Where were you?" "The night of the accident. We were supposed to meet for dinner." Marcus's smile flickered. "Just for a moment. I texted you. I had a work emergency. Didn't you get my message?" "I checked my phone while I was driving, looking for your message." That's when the other car crossed the median. The room went silent. She had been checking her phone, looking for him, and in that moment of distraction, her life had nearly ended. "Sarah, you can't blame me for that. I didn't cause the accident." "No, you didn't. But you weren't there. You're never there." I stepped out of the room. This was their conversation, but I heard every word through the door. Sarah asked him about the money, about the transfers, about Vanessa Cole. Apparently, she had been doing some thinking while she was lying in that hospital bed. Maybe the nurses talked. Maybe she overheard a phone call. Maybe she simply put together the pieces that had been scattered in front of her for years. Marcus denied everything. He called her paranoid. He said the medication was affecting her mind. He said she should focus on recovery, not on crazy accusations. But Sarah wasn't buying it anymore. "Get out," she said. "Don't come back." Marcus left. He didn't fight. He didn't argue. He simply walked out, typed something on his phone, and disappeared down the hallway. I knew where he was going. He was going to accelerate his plans. He thought he could still get the money out before anyone stopped him. He thought he was smarter than everyone else. He wasn't smarter than me. The next morning, Marcus Harrison woke up to find that his world had collapsed overnight. His joint accounts with Sarah were frozen. A court order, issued by Judge Rebecca Torres, an old friend from law school. Emergency motion citing evidence of fraud. His personal accounts were frozen as well. Different court order, different judge, but the same result. His credit cards were declined. All of them. The credit card companies had received anonymous tips about potential identity theft, and they had frozen his accounts pending investigation. His car was repossessed at 6 a.m. Turns out, Sarah's inheritance had been paying those lease payments, and when the payments stopped, the leasing company moved fast. My friend at the leasing company moved even faster. He arrived at work to find security guards waiting for him. Vanessa Cole had been terminated the week before, and now HR had questions about his involvement with a subordinate. Questions that became accusations. Accusations that became a termination letter. By noon, Marcus Harrison was unemployed, broke, and homeless. That's when my phone rang. "You did this." His voice was shaking with rage. "I know it was you." "I don't know what you're talking about, Marcus. I've been at the hospital with my daughter. You know, the daughter you robbed. The daughter you abandoned. The daughter whose life you nearly destroyed. You can't prove anything. Those transfers were authorized. Sarah signed the documents." "That's interesting, because the forensic handwriting analysis I commissioned says otherwise." "Apparently, You're not as good at forgery as you thought. Silence. The FBI is also very interested in the offshore accounts. Something about wire fraud across state lines. That makes it a federal crime, Marcus. Federal crimes mean federal prison. More silence. And I should mention, Vanessa Cole has been cooperating with investigators. Apparently, she didn't appreciate being fired. She's willing to testify about everything. The affair, the financial planning, the conversations you had about divorcing Sarah and taking everything. I could hear him breathing, heavy, panicked. What do you want? He finally asked. I want you to sign the divorce papers Patricia Huang is drawing up. I want you to return every penny you stole from my daughter. I want you to waive all claims to any marital assets, and I want you to disappear. Leave Chicago. Leave Illinois. Never contact Sarah again. And if I don't, then Detective Reardon files federal charges tomorrow. The FBI arrests you by Wednesday. You spend the next 15 to 20 years in a federal penitentiary. When you get out, you'll be 60 years old, unemployable, and still owing restitution. Your choice. He hung up. 24 hours later, Marcus signed the papers. Every penny returned. Every asset waived. Every claim abandoned. He left Chicago 2 days after that. I heard he moved to Arizona. Started over with nothing. Vanessa Cole didn't go with him. She had found a new target. Someone with more money and less baggage. But I wasn't finished. See, I could have let Marcus walk away. I had recovered Sarah's money. I had protected her future. I had removed the cancer from her life. But that wasn't enough. Not for what he did. Not for the 2 years he spent lying to her. Not for the nights she cried alone while he was with another woman. Not for the accident. Not for the weeks she spent in a coma while he scrolled through his phone. He needed to understand what it felt like to lose everything. Not just money. Not just a job. Everything. I made a few more calls. Marcus's new employer in Arizona received an anonymous package. Copies of his termination letter from Chicago. Documentation of the fraud investigation. A note suggesting they might want to verify his references. He was fired within a month. His next employer received the same package. And the next? His landlord received documentation of his eviction history in Chicago. He was denied renewal of his lease. His credit score, already damaged, continued to plummet as the fraud investigations dragged on. Even though he was never charged thanks to his cooperation, the investigations themselves left a trail that followed him everywhere. 3 years later, I received a letter. No return address. Postmarked from Tucson. It was from Marcus. He wrote that he was living in a studio apartment, working at a car wash, making minimum wage. He wrote that he had nothing, no savings, no prospects, no future. He wrote that he understood now. He understood what it felt like to be stripped of everything. He understood what he had done to Sarah. He wrote that he was sorry. I read the letter. I folded it carefully, and I threw it in the trash. Some apologies are too late. Sarah recovered. Not completely, not at first. There were months of physical therapy, months of cognitive rehabilitation. Some memories never came back. Some motor functions remained impaired. But she was alive. She was whole. She was free. She moved back into the Lincoln Park house. Her mother's house. Our house. She started painting again. Something she had abandoned when she married Marcus. She adopted a dog from the shelter, a golden retriever named Murphy, who followed her everywhere. On the 1-year anniversary of the accident, she invited me over for dinner. She had cooked everything herself. Pot roast, just like Elizabeth used to make. Mashed potatoes, green beans from the farmer's market. After dinner, she handed me a small box. I found this in Mom's things, she said. I think you should have it back. Inside was Elizabeth's engagement ring. The ring I had given her 40 years ago, when I was a young attorney with more ambition than sense. The ring she had worn every day until the cancer took her. Your mother wanted you to have this, I said. I know. And I wore it for a while, after she died. But I took it off when I married Marcus. He said it didn't match my wedding set. He said I should put it in a safe deposit box. She smiled, but there was sadness in it. I should have known then, right? A man who wants you to hide your mother's ring is not a man who loves you. I didn't say anything. I just held the ring. I want you to have it, Dad. Keep it safe. And maybe someday, if I find the right person, you can give it to me again. But this time, we'll both make sure he deserves it. I put the ring in my pocket. I hugged my daughter. I told her I loved her. And I thought about Marcus Harrison, washing cars in Tucson, wondering where his life had gone wrong. He thought he was clever. He thought he could take what didn't belong to him. He thought he could hurt my daughter and walk away unscathed. He learned the hard way that some fathers don't forgive, some fathers don't forget, and some fathers have 40 years of legal expertise, a network of loyal colleagues, and absolutely nothing to lose. I protected my daughter, just like I promised Elizabeth I would. And Marcus Harrison? He lost his mind trying to figure out how a retired old man had demolished his entire life. But that's the thing about revenge. It's not about strength. It's not about money. It's not even about power. It's about patience. I waited. I watched. I documented. And when the time was right, I struck. Every domino fell exactly where I placed it. Every move was calculated. Every consequence was intentional. And now, 5 years later, Sarah's thriving. She remarried last spring. A good man this time. A teacher. He looks at her like she hung the moon. He would never hurt her. I made sure of that. Thorough background check. Forensic financial review. Interview with his ex-girlfriend, his colleagues, his family. He passed every test. I walked Sarah down the aisle, just like I did the first time. But this time, I knew she was safe. At the reception, she pulled me aside. Dad, I never thanked you for everything you did after the accident, for staying with me, for protecting me, for handling Marcus. You don't have to thank me. You're my daughter. I know what you did. I know it was more than just lawyers and paperwork. I know you destroyed him. I didn't deny it. Are you okay with that? I asked. She thought about it for a moment. When I was in that coma, I had dreams. I don't remember most of them, but I remember one. I was drowning in dark water, and I couldn't find the surface. And then I felt someone grab my hand and pull me up. When I looked, it was you. She squeezed my hand, just like she did when she first woke up in the hospital. You saved me, Dad, in every way that matters. So yes, I'm okay with it. I'm more than okay. I watched her dance with her new husband. I watched her laugh, really laugh. For the first time in years, I watched her live, and I knew it was worth it. Every phone call, every document, every sleepless night planning his destruction. Because that's what fathers do. We protect our children, no matter what it takes, no matter how long it takes, no matter who stands in our way. I'm 69 years old now. I'm retired. I spend my days reading, gardening, and visiting my daughter. She's pregnant with her first child, a girl. They're going to name her Elizabeth, after her grandmother. Sometimes I think about Marcus. Not often. He's not worth the mental energy. But sometimes, late at night, I wonder if he ever understood what happened to him, if he ever connected the dots, if he ever realized that every misfortune that befell him wasn't bad luck, but deliberate, methodical retribution. I hope he did. I hope he lies awake at night, staring at the ceiling of his studio apartment, replaying every decision that brought him to this point. I hope he remembers the day he chose Vanessa over Sarah, the day he forged the first signature, the day he decided my daughter was nothing more than a bank account to be drained. I hope he remembers, and I hope it haunts him, because that's the thing about vengeance. It's not just about punishment. It's about justice. It's about making sure the scales are balanced. It's about making sure that actions have consequences. Marcus Harrison thought he could cheat. He thought he could lie. He thought he could steal. He thought he could betray. He was wrong. And my daughter? My beautiful, resilient, incredible daughter? She won. She survived. She healed. She flourished. She found love again. Real love. The kind her mother and I had. And next month, she's going to bring a new life into this world. A child who will never know Marcus Harrison. A child who will only know love and safety and protection. That's my legacy. Not the law firm. Not the money. Not the reputation. My legacy is my daughter's happiness. And no one, not Marcus Harrison, not anyone, will ever threaten that again. not while I'm still breathing. So if you're watching this and you're in a similar situation, let me tell you something. Don't give up. Don't accept betrayal. Don't let the people who hurt you walk away unscathed. Be patient. Be strategic. Be relentless. And remember, the best revenge isn't explosive. It isn't violent. It isn't dramatic. The best revenge is watching someone lose everything they took for granted, piece by piece, day by day, until they're standing alone in the ruins of their own making. That's what I did to Marcus Harrison, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. Because some debts can only be paid in full, and I always collect. Thank you for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, please subscribe to Obsidian Vengeance. Share your own experiences in the comments. Let me know where you're watching from. And remember, protect what matters, no matter the cost. This has been a true story. Names and some details have been changed to protect the innocent, but the truth remains. A father's love is the most dangerous weapon in the world.